Hello everyone, my name is Javier Momez, member of the UDS technical team, and in this video we're going to see how to configure multi-factor authentication with UDS Enterprise. In this case, we're going to create a new one, and this case will be an email multi-factor. So things that we're going to need, of course, an email server, a valid one that can be able to send these emails to the final users. So let's start with the configuration. We already have one created here. The first thing, of course, as always, what we're going to need is going to be a name. A descriptive name will be easier for everyone. Then we have our device caching. This will be the time in hours where a user won't be asked again for the authentication. If you authenticate one time, if you put here 3 hours, you will have to wait again another 3 hours. Until that time, you won't be asked again for the MFA. So if you put in 0, every time the user that wants to access, he will have to use the MFA with the email. Then we have the MFA, and the last part here will be in minutes. This will be since the email is sent, how much time has the user to use that code. If that code expires, if those 5 minutes expired, you will need to ask for a new code. Then we have our M7T server. Here where we configure the connection with our email server. In this case, as you can see, we're going to use a Gmail account. So in the M7T host, here as you can see, this is our email. The security that we're going to use, okay, that's your choice, and the username of the password that we're going to need for that specific server. Okay, then in the config part, we have a couple of important things. How we can configure here how we want these emails to be sent. The subject of the email, in this case, as you can see, from where we are sending the email, okay, as you can see, no reply type of email, but you can put whatever you guys need. In the part of enable HTML, well, let's put it on yes, so we can see what's going to happen once we send an email. Okay, here we can tell, as you can see, how and where we want the MFA to be applied. We'll see this later also. Of course, very important part will be a policy here where a user doesn't have an MFA configured. What's going to happen to that user? We can allow it, deny it, whatever we need. Also, of course, if we have that IP in our network list, we can accept it, and if the IP is not, we cannot accept it. Whatever we need. Of course, we can edit the text of our email as we like. As you can see here, we have some variables. We have the code. We can put it in the mail text. We have the username and the IP. These are the 3 variables that we can put in our email. For example, if you're going to use an ID authenticator, if you put the username, you can see the username, and the domain. The IP, of course, will be where there be the public IP of the client that's using UDS, and of course the code will be the code that we're going to need for the MFA authentication. We have 2 parts, the mail text, as you can see here, and you can also use HTML5. In the case that we have HTML5 enabled, we can put this type of text. It will be very similar as before, but here we can have HTML5 code type, so we can do a lot of things. For example, change color of the format of every part, a lot of things that we can need. We can see the difference now. So to start, let's not enable HTML5, so we can use plain text, as you can see, and the next try we'll enable HTML5. Okay, so let's click on save. Now let's apply this to a given authenticator. We have two, as you can see right here, an internal database. Let's go to MFA. Let's edit an MFA and then select which one we want to use. We're going to use email one, and for Active Directory let's do the same. Let's choose the email one. Okay, difference will be how the attribute of email will be sent to each one of them. We'll see it right now. In the AD case, in the MFA part, we're going to give it the attribute that we're going to need, so we can have the email of the user. Okay, that's something that we're going to need. Of course, this is something that we'll need to see in the Active Directory part. It's going to be necessary that in the Active Directory part we put the email of the user. In the internal database, when we access with the user, as you can see here, when we create a new user, when we edit, as you can see here in MFA, we can put the email of that user. So we can click on OK. So let's log out. We are going to use in this case the internal database. The first time that we do the access will be the username and the password. As you can see, the next step we already need our OTP code. So let's go to our email. There it is. As you can see, we have our username, we have the code, so let's put it. Once we have it completed, as you can see, we have access to our service. Now let's try the second option with our HTML5 code so you can see the difference. Let's open a new tab. Let's go to the dashboard. And now let's tell it that we are going to use the HTML5. Let's save. And now we're going to use Active Directory. Let's use the user, password. Now, same as before, we're going to need a code. And now in a couple seconds, we'll have the new email. And as you can see, as we are going to use right now the HTML5 code, we can see that it has a different color. So you can see the difference with plain text or HTML5 code. Let's enter the code, submit, and with this we can access our services. This user, as you can see, will have administration users permissions, so let's change a bit the configuration. Let's use plain text. So let's now see the username and try it with our Active Directory. Let's log out. Now let's use Active Directory. Okay, now let's see if we receive the OTP code of the email. There it is. As you can see, after accessing with Active Directory, we are going to receive the email and the domain, of course, of the user. So we have the code here. Let's use it. Copy and paste. And as you can see, with our D user already has access to a different service. In this case is administration 1. Hope that this video can help everyone. Have a very good day. Bye bye.